Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about an interesting little quirk of federal law called the Erie Doctrine. Stay tuned. There are numerous ways you can find yourself in federal court. You can rob a bank, for example, come up under the federal criminal law. Or you can file a lawsuit or get sued in a lawsuit and find yourself in federal court. That's not uncommon. And when a federal court handles a case, the first question on everybody's mind, especially the judge, is, does the federal court have jurisdiction? Generally speaking, in most cases, federal courts do not have jurisdiction over everyday lawsuits. The only way a federal court has jurisdiction over a lawsuit is, one, whether the parties are diverse. So Mr. Hanna is driving through South Carolina and he is hit by Mr. Plummer's decedent. Plummer is the executor of the estate of the person who hit Mr. Hanna. Now, Plummer is a resident of Massachusetts. The car accident is in South Carolina, and Mr. Hanna is from Ohio. So we have Ohio, South Carolina, and Massachusetts. So our diligent Mr. Hanna goes and hires an attorney in Massachusetts to sue Mr. Plummer in federal court. So the attorney goes to Massachusetts and files a case in federal court against Plummer as the executor of the estate of the decedent who hit Mr. Hanna. In Massachusetts, the requirement is that service of process is effected by different means than it is under the federal rules of civil procedure. So Hanna's attorney goes to the court in Massachusetts and gets a summons, files the lawsuit, and serves the summons on Plummer's wife. And that's allowed under the federal rules of civil procedure. You can serve any adult over the age of 18 in the household where the defendant lives. Massachusetts state courts have a different rule. And the different rule is that you have to serve the summons personally by hand to the defendant. I think that's a bad rule, primarily because people tend to duck summonses. But that's the rule in Massachusetts, or at least it was in 1965. The service was made according to the federal rules of civil procedure. But after discovery, the defendant brings a motion to dismiss for lack of service of process because he wasn't served pursuant to the Massachusetts rules, which require that service be made by hand. The district court in that case granted the motion. The appeal was denied by the Second Circuit, and it went up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, in a decision that really is not too surprising, said the substantive law of what law applies to the accident is the law of South Carolina where the accident occurred. But the procedural law that applies to the mechanics of the lawsuit is governed by federal rules of civil procedure. Those take precedence over the state rules because they are procedural, not substantive. The defendant said, well, wait a minute. The result of the case is different if you apply the rules of Massachusetts, and under the Erie Doctrine, Massachusetts common law should apply. And the court said, no, there is a distinction between procedural law and substantive law. And the procedural law is that of the federal rules of civil procedure, and the substantive law is the law of the various states. So, under the Erie Doctrine, the doctrine that governs diversity jurisdiction cases, as well as something called supplemental jurisdiction. So, for example, where someone sues under Section 1983 in federal court, so there is federal jurisdiction, but they also bring a claim under state law for assault or intentional infliction of emotional distress or defamation or some other state law claim, then the law of the jurisdiction where the claim arose is what controls the substantive law of that supplemental claim, whereas the federal law obviously controls the federal claim. It can be very, very confusing, and this is one of the reasons why you hire lawyers. You hire lawyers, quite frankly, because the law is confusing. It's even confusing to lawyers if they were going to be honest and tell you the truth. So that is my little ditty today on the Erie Doctrine, and I hope if you have any questions, you'll leave them in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everybody you know. And I would appreciate it if you did. I appreciate all of you who've subscribed. If you have any questions, as I said, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, take the opportunity today to do something nice for somebody. I'm going to. You have a marvelous day, and I'll catch you on here next time. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.